Good evening. You're watching the main news on HKIBC. I'm Chloe Feng. Here's a look at tonight's top stories. COVID cases in Hong Kong continue their downward trend. Police Commissioner Raymond Siu says security will be stepped up on National Day. And Roger Federer bids an emotional goodbye as he quits competitive tennis. Health officials are not expecting a large rebound in COVID cases as local infections continue to drop. But at the government's last daily press briefing, they said it will be difficult to achieve zero infections. Macy Mock reports.
COVID cases in Hong Kong continued their decline, with 5,190 infections, including 152 imported ones. The head of the Communicable Disease Branch, Chuang Shuk-kun, said it is unlikely Hong Kong will see a large rebound as many people have been vaccinated or infected. She said whether COVID becomes endemic depends on the situation worldwide.
Now we have gone through the fifth wave since early this year. Majority of the population have been infected or fully vaccinated, but we still have quite significant number of cases in the community, and it is very infectious, and it will be very difficult to achieve zero cases in the community.
The number of COVID patients in hospital has also eased, dropping to 2,114 today. 7 more people died from the virus. Hospital Authority Chief Manager Gladys Kwan said the public can continue to use hotlines for medical consultations to ease the pressure on the healthcare system.
We are working towards to resume our normal hospital activities. We are working towards to resume some of the non-emergency service as well as the day service, and hope that we can at the same time take care of those patients who do not have the COVID.
The COVID briefing today was the last. It had been held daily for the past 8 months, but could return on a case-by-case basis. Starting tomorrow, press statements will be released. Chuang ended the final briefing by wishing people good health and a happy life. Maisie Mock, HKIBC.
Only 16% of children in the youngest age group have been vaccinated against COVID. By contrast, the rate is 80% for those between 5 and 11 years old. Speaking after the first parent-children workshop on COVID vaccines in the Ma Angshan Kindergarten, Civil Service Chief Ingrid Yang said among those aged between 6 months and 3 years, 16%, or about 16,000, have been inoculated. About 87,000 in this age group have yet to receive a jab. Currently, they can only get Sinovac shots. This is a sharp contrast to the 5 to 11 years age group. About 80%, or 240,000, have had a jab, leaving only 20%, or 60,000, unvaccinated. Pediatrician Mike Kwan urged parents to take their children for inoculation as soon as possible to strengthen protection. He urged them not to believe online rumors about serious side effects. Yang, who is in charge of the city's vaccination drive, said the government is reviewing the application from the makers of BioNTech vaccines to supply doses for children in a timely manner. Additional vaccination venues will be considered to cope with a possible increase in demand. Government Pandemic Advisor Ivan Hong says medical surveillance for arrivals can end when there's no rebound in imported COVID cases. This comes as Cathay Pacific flight attendants questioned why they should stay in their hotel rooms during overseas flights. Macy Mock reports.
Even before hotel quarantine is scrapped on Monday, there are already calls for ditching the 3-day medical surveillance for incoming travelers. Government pandemic advisor Ivan Hong said if daily local infections drop below 2,000 and infected arrivals account for less than 5% of the city's daily figures, then the 3-day monitoring could end within a few weeks. Within the last month, imported infections only made up roughly 2% of the city's daily caseload. But Hong said arrivals would still have to get COVID tests even if medical surveillance is eliminated. Treasury Chief Christopher Hui said the government will monitor the COVID situation based on scientific data before deciding whether to scrap the 3-day medical surveillance ahead of 2 major financial forums in November. Although local hotel quarantine is set to end, Cathay Pacific aircrew are unhappy that they cannot leave their rooms when they are abroad during long-haul flights. The rule was implemented last year. The union says it is inconvenient because of the difficulty in getting daily necessities. Maisie Mock, HKIBC.
Macau is expecting an influx of visitors as a 3-year suspension on mainland tour groups ends late next month. The city hopes to get 40,000 visitors per day, and only tour groups from Guangdong, Fujian, Zhejiang, Jiangsu, and Shanghai will be permitted initially. Chief Executive Hou Yasing said mainland visitors are vital for reviving the gambling hub's economy, which was battered during the pandemic. Hong Kong residents who go to Macau will have to spend 7 days in hotel quarantine and 3 days of self-monitoring. Security will be beefed up next Saturday when the city marks National Day. Police Commissioner Raymond Siu also said Hong Kong will remain on alert, although there's no evidence of any terrorist threat. Police Commissioner Raymond Siu told an iCable news show there's no evidence that Hong Kong will become a terrorist target. But he said the city cannot let its guard down, noting that there were many cases involving live firearms in recent years. Siu was speaking a week before National Day when protests and rallies occurred in the past. He said there would be a significant police presence throughout the city on that day, but he did not give figures. Police have not received any applications to hold rallies, the commissioner said, but warned that anyone who violates the law would be punished. Siu disclosed that officers are still investigating the case of a man who was accused of playing a protest song and the British national anthem on his harmonica outside the UK Consulate General last Monday, as Queen Elizabeth's funeral was taking place in London. He said officers will see if there's sufficient evidence to show how the music could incite others to resent the government. The police chief vowed no mercy for doctors who sold false certificates for COVID jab exemptions and the people who bought them. He took a more lenient stance on students arrested during the 2019 protests, saying they should be given a second chance. He noted that most schools were willing to take back the students who accounted for 40% of those arrested. China has told the United States to stop sending what Beijing calls wrong and dangerous signals to Taiwan. Foreign Minister Wang Yi spelled out the message when he met his U.S. counterpart Antony Blinken on the sidelines of the UN General Assembly in New York. During their talks, Wang again stressed that Taiwan is an internal Chinese affair and Washington should not interfere. Blinken said Washington's One China policy has not changed, adding that peace and stability across the Taiwan Strait is vital. Ties between the two economic powers worsened after U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi paid a controversial visit to Taiwan last month. The Iranian government has warned protesters that they will be dealt with firmly. The threat came as unrest continued in at least a dozen cities. The protest erupted following the death of a young Kurdish woman after she was arrested by morality police who accused her of not wearing her headscarf properly. Police said Mahsa Amini died of a heart attack, but her family disputed the claim. Official figures put the death toll from the protest at 35, but activists say it's much higher. Washington, meanwhile, is relaxing internet curbs on Iran after Tehran blocked its citizens from gaining online access. A string of leaders from developing countries have pleaded for urgent action on climate change. Addressing the United Nations General Assembly, they questioned why they have to pay a heavy price for a crisis triggered mainly by rich nations.
No one is immune to the extreme weather events now ravaging our islands, cities, and states. No one can escape the rising tides.
These storms have stolen lives. They have leveled homes. They have destroyed schools. They have traumatized our young. The Pacific's children are the least to blame, among the least to blame for the climate crisis.
The question to raise here is quite simple. Why are my people paying the price of such high global warming through no fault of ours? We have no contribution in this. Nature has unleashed her fury on Pakistan without looking at our carbon footprint, which is next to nothing.
Pakistan is still trying to recover from floods that have killed at least 1,500 people and left 1/3 of the country underwater. With crops and infrastructure destroyed, the cash-strapped nation is facing a humanitarian crisis. Other developing countries have voiced concern that they too face ecological disasters. On to the weather now. It will be overcast with sunny intervals. Temperatures will range between 27 and 32 degrees. Expect some showers early next week. Now let's take a look at the weather around the world. That's our main news for Saturday night. Join us for more news at 11. I'm Chloe Feng. Thanks for watching. Good night.